Hi there, I'm Carly and welcome to this training module on raising brand awareness. A special thank you to my partner on this entire training series, the North Central Regional Planning Commission. Thank you so much for partnering with me and making this entire series possible. This is the 10th and final module. Like all the others, it has a whole folder of supporting documentations that are meant to stand on their own. So by all means, dive into those supporting documents. You don't need to watch the video first, and check out the rest of the video for helpful hints on how to tie it all together. For the rest of this video, we will mostly be working off of the Raising Brand Awareness Concepts document. So if you want to pull that up and follow along or even take notes directly into the document, go for it. And on that document, we have the entire chunk of material for raising brand awareness. We have it split down into 4 sections. So the 4 sections are advertising, loyalty, engagement, and destination. So each of these do overlap and the lines between them blur significantly. We're very much, all of this is inside the range of raising our brand awareness. But I thought a little bit of extra structure to break down the different ideas and sections that I want to share with you. So in advertising, we're specifically looking at attracting new customers. And in loyalty, we are looking at how to reward your existing customers for either repeat visits or increased basket sizes, those kinds of rewards. Engagement talks about building goodwill with your community/customers. And destination is about how do you separate yourself from the competition? Why would people drive an hour, 2 hours to come to your store specifically to get what you have? Why is your store a destination? So these are the 4 categories that we will go through, beginning with advertising. So attracting new customers. It really begins at the very first step with our brand setup process. So this is your company's face to the world. This is your image, your reputation. Typically our logo is kind of the little image that is recognizable to our customers, as this is what our brand stands for, and every ounce of marketing that you do is only teaching your customers what does this brand symbol, your logo, stand for. Basically, your brand is what is your promise to your customers? What is it that you want to be known and remembered for? When it comes to your logo, there are free design programs out there like Canva, for example, where you could theoretically generate your own logo for free, or you can pay some type of graphic designer to create a logo for you. So I wanted to give you kind of, in my opinion, the pros and the cons of why you would pay for somebody to make you a logo versus why you might just skip that expense and make one yourself, which is totally a valid option and on the table as far as making one for yourself. So I think the main benefit to having a professionally designed logo is that you'll have something, hopefully, at the very beginning that when you very first show it to your customers, that you aren't going to change it maybe ever. You're gonna live under that logo for the rest of time. Ideally, that's what you're shooting for. And that's why you would pay. So in terms of, we're teaching our customers what our promise is, and this logo is what ties it all together and reminds them again and again and again, every time they see our logo, what we've promised them and every time we've delivered on those promises. So there becomes almost a positive response that people have. They feel good when they see your logo because it reminds them of all of the time your company has delivered on its promise. And so to suddenly 2 years in, you don't like your logo anymore, now you want to change it, now you're using a different logo. When people see that new logo, they don't have any kind of feeling response because they don't know what it means. You've spent 2 years teaching them that all your promises, all your delivered promises mean this first logo, and changing it, that's the con. That's like, Like I get it, if your budget is strapped and you want to skip this expense, I can totally see that. But on the flip side too, there are relatively inexpensive graphic designers. I'm thinking like if you went through like your SBDC at the college in your state. So like in Kansas at Washburn University, there's a small business development center in SBDC, and there are those all over the country. A place like that can hook you up with a college student even who may be able to provide services for free. So maybe it's not a professionally designed logo, you didn't pay a lot of money for it, but it's at least somebody who this is their wheelhouse. This is what they do. So if you're gonna do your own, I would just say keep it as simple as possible so that hopefully, again, it's gonna be classic and timeless and you're not ever gonna wanna change it. The bottom line of establishing your brand, this is something that I heard somewhere along the way, I don't really remember where, but it has always stuck with me. The line was, don't focus on building your brand, focus on meeting your promises. Because people are gonna remember how you make them feel. That other quote that's like, people don't remember what you say, they often don't remember exactly what you did, but they always remember how you made them feel. And imagine even in your own life when someone makes you a promise and then they break it. You're mad, you're sad, you're upset, and that's how your customers will feel if you break your promise to them. Your brand is an emergent property, meaning that you don't really create it, it comes out of other pieces, other factors. And in this case, it comes out of what is your promise and how often are you meeting that. An emergent property, an example is like flight is not a wing, it's not a bone, it's not a muscle, it's not a feather. Flight is an emergent property that comes out of all of these different pieces. So your brand is your reputation is based on your promise and how often you're meeting it. So knowing your audience, the main goal here is that you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. You're not trying to get a bunch of people to come over to this new place where you are. You want to know, where are your people already gathering, either online, in social media, at particular conventions or events, and you go to them. So you go get in front of them, you take your table and you set up at their convention, and now bam, you're right in the middle of it all. So knowing your audience is imperative. This can also help guide your social media strategy. So I highly encourage you to use as many platforms as you have the capacity to use, understanding that it takes time to post to different platforms, let alone try to manage and respond to any of the comments or interactions that you might be getting, which is best case scenario, but can overwhelm you really quickly if you have one person trying to do too much. Also, for example, coming off of knowing your audience, that may tell you, is your audience older or are you in a younger area? Because that may tell you which platform is more appropriate. So typically the older population is on Facebook, a slightly younger population is on Instagram, and a much younger population is on TikTok. That is right now current March 15th, 2022. So who knows what can happen tomorrow, but understanding your audience might help guide your social media strategy as to which platform do you really want to focus on and invest your energy into. Highly encourage all kinds of posts that are allowed on your platform, just so you can see for yourself and your particular audience what engages them the most. Always when you're dealing with social media, engagement is the key, it's the goal. It drives your content through the algorithm. That's something that gets thrown around all the time, but what it means is how often is your content being shown to people who are scrolling on their phones. And the algorithm decides as you're scrolling, like, what's next? What's next on the scroll, and it's constantly, we scroll for hours sometimes, and the algorithm is what's putting the next and the next and the next for that person to find. So how often is the algorithm putting your content next on the scrolling? Well, the social media platforms, they want their users to stay on the platform as long as possible. So the algorithm is selecting content for the scrolling based on how many people have engaged with this content so far. Or Are you following that account? There's other ways that it can wind up in your newsfeed, but the main thing is how engaging is this post? You know, if you have 100 people view it and 50 of them share it, the algorithm picks that up in a hurry and starts showing it to all of these random people who are loosely associated with your network, and they're doing that. They're using your post. They're basically telling you, good job, you've gotten a really engaging post here. And that's what goes in the algorithm. That's what goes on the news feed for us to scroll through, is the most engaging stuff, because they want us to stay on the platform. They want us to consume more ads. More time equals more ads. So it encourages them. That's the whole point of social media, is that they want our attention. They're making money off of our attention. So when you get your community to react to what you're posting, be that, you know, maybe it's a simple post that says, hey, we're looking for some new items. Can you guys tell us, are there any things that you would love to buy from us, but we don't carry it yet? That'll typically get you like 100 comments. I mean, like instant, of like people telling you, if they're loyal, especially, like if they want to buy from you, it's just a matter of you carrying it or not. They'll tell you, hey, yeah, I want a bigger box of this. I want this flavor cereal. I want this kind of coffee. And then you get that stuff in, and now their basket size is going up because you asked. You asked them, what is it that you want to buy? And now here this is. So this social media platform, any platform that you're operating on, it really doesn't matter which one, you can use them all as the tool that this is talking about, where you can communicate with your audience in real time, basically, and ask for their feedback, and then implement that feedback into your store in real time, and watch the basket size climb in real time. So I wanted to take a second and talk about like, comment, share giveaways. If you've seen these on social media and you don't understand why does everybody do these, again, because of the algorithm. Because of when you have a lot of people sharing your post, when you have a lot of people commenting on your post and liking it, the more engagement, the more of all of that. Sharing is the best, commenting is second, and liking it is third. But every single one of those is going to give a bump to that content in the algorithm. So the idea of the giveaway is that you get that post, and really your account in general, to be shown to those loose acquaintances of your existing network. You push your content out into the algorithm instead of just being consumed by your existing customers. You get in front of new ones. So that's why social media is right here in the middle of advertising, in the middle of how do we attract new customers. So the social media content template gives you a range of ideas, ranging from some weekly ideas, where that means like you would post it every single week. And one example of that is a new item alert. So if that probably is likely one of your competitive advantages if you're in a small store format, is your willingness to take customer requests and get in those products for sale. Where big box stores often won't do that. They won't order one-off things for people. So just being willing to provide that service can be a wonderful competitive advantage. So that's a perfect example of, you would then want to publicize and advertise that, hey, now we have these 5 new products in the store, so that hopefully it's not just a matter of the person who requested it. Lots of other people who aren't even walking through your building, they can see that now you have that product in there, and maybe they're more likely to now come walk through your building. Other ideas on the template, you'll see that they go week to week to week, and that there are things happening like back to school time and barbecue time and football season and Thanksgiving and Christmas. And these occasions are very helpful to be able to keep coming up with ideas as far as, what am I supposed to post to my social media? If you want me to post 4 or 5 times a week, what the heck am I supposed to put on there? This kind of stuff. You know, like, oh, it's back to school time, like make sure you get your juice boxes to send with them, or like whatever it is. Those kinds of ideas related to the season, related to like, what are your customers actually living through right now, and speak and offer solutions directly to their experience. Obviously, there's always going to be the classic advertising methods where most of these you're going to pay for. So newspaper, radio, billboard, all of those may or may not be appropriate depending on your location and your situation. So evaluate for yourself. Also, just judge by the cost. You know, like some advertising is relatively cheap and you get a lot of exposure out of it. Some advertising can be really expensive and the perceived benefit may be really low. So again, for all of these different options, you'll have to just kind of play by ear and see what makes the most sense for you. But again, that's kind of why I go back to social media as the default, because it's free. Unless you're paying for ads or to boost certain posts, which boosting a post means you're paying for the algorithm to put it in the scrolling. So no, it hasn't performed well enough to be picked up by the algorithm, but I can pay money to force the algorithm to show my post. So that is possible through your social media. But you don't have to. If you write really engaging content and you can get people to comment, share, and like your post, the algorithm will do the rest of the work for you, and social media can be completely free. The other free option is a marquee board in your parking lot. So marquee meaning that it's the holders and then you change out the letters to make it say whatever you want. So you could change that every week, once a month, whatever works for you as far as your capacity and like being able to think of stuff to put on there. Our marquee board, for example, lists a few of our best, most popular sale items, and we change it the same day every week, the day that the ad starts, and here's the new sales, and next week with the new ad we change it again. If there's anything special going on at the store, like every once in a while we'll do a grill night or something like that, we'll put those dates on there at the top and then whatever sales we have room for. So you can use it for a lot, and we've noticed that's probably your best advertising as far as like being able to quantify how often that sign is paying off. When you are doing what we're doing as far as putting the sales stuff, and that sales stuff sells out every single time, and you're hearing from people inside the store, like I drove by and saw that you had pork butt for 99 cents a pound, and so I came in for that. You see, like that's advertising in action. That's you investing time and energy into communicating with your customer base and it paying off in real time. Plastic gift cards are something that I highly recommend. This is something that we left for after opening. So we didn't have this established when we very first opened our store, but it was on our higher priorities, and we did have it done by the time Christmas came around that very first year. So we use paper gift cards in the beginning, or gift certificates, and those present their own challenges, mostly around security and just being able to trust that this is real and did it already get spent, and on and on and on. It's a piece of paper, like that's just not secure. So a plastic gift card where you integrate it between your credit card processor and your grocery warehouse can likely help you get this process set up. It automatically allows you to charge the card. They can pay for whatever the card is charged with. There's no fee for activation, and then the person has full access to whatever the person put on the credit card, on the plastic gift card. So it's just a more secure method. For one thing. Also, it allows customers who are already a fan, and really this is true even if you're using paper gift certificates, but gift cards in general allow customers who are already a fan to give the gift of shopping in your store to people that they care about. So a lot of times, like you'll have people come in on their way to a wedding. This is just a random example that I've noticed really often, where they'll come in and like get $100 gift card, and that's what they're going to give the couple for their wedding. So we sell a lot of gift cards, and think about that's a cash infusion right now. They buy the gift card, we take the money for the gift card right now, and then at some point in the future, maybe that gift card is going to be redeemed for the cost of goods sold, right? They're taking product and we're charging them retail prices, so it costs us the cost of goods sold. So eventually, down the road, you're going to expense the cost of goods sold in the product that they come and redeem the gift card for. But the cash infusion right now, that's yours right now to have and to pay your bills with and to operate on if needed. And this scenario is what drove the invention of the gift card promotion bonus package, or bonus for the holidays. So this looked like an idea of how can we generate a little bit of a cash infusion right now at this time, and over the course of time, totally understanding they're going to come and they're going to redeem those gift cards, but it's only going to be cost of goods sold. So like we'll get to use the whole amount now and later get to keep the margin. So for example, in November, for every $100 that they bought in gift cards, and it did have to be $100, they would get 15 bonus dollars. So then we could either load the $15 onto that same gift card so that it would be 115, or put the 15 on a separate card and they would have two different cards. That's an option that you wouldn't necessarily have to offer so that it didn't cost you two cards. You could just automatically put it all on one. But that was in November, 15 bonus dollars. And then in December, it was 10 bonus dollars. So they still got a bonus. That's still a great deal, especially for people who are already intending on buying your gift card, and for people who know that they're going to be shopping at your store for the rest of time. Like, for example, one of the owner's parents, we'll put it that way, one of the owner's parents knows that they're going to shop there, and this is a way of, especially in November, you get 15% bonus added on to your grocery money to put towards the store. So you know you're going to spend that money anyway. So she put about $8,000 on gift cards, and the gift cards were only going up to $500. So we activated a bunch of those bad boys for her, and that got her a bonus of 15% on $8,000. And that was a substantial win for her. To get a 15% return on your investment, that is something that most investments can't offer to you. So this is a great deal. And again, a cash infusion right now when maybe you need that money right now. So, just a thought. Next is food assistance programs. So these include SNAP and WIC. These are two different kinds of food assistance. SNAP works on the federal level, WIC works on the county level. SNAP is available to everyone. WIC is available to pregnant women, mothers, and young children. So these two programs are definitely, I would highly recommend they be on your list of priorities as far as getting into these programs to be able to accept payment in SNAP benefits or WIC benefits. They both operate with a card that the government loads on a monthly basis. The other main difference between SNAP and WIC is SNAP covers any food item, period. If there's something that your store does choose to take out of SNAP benefits at your store locally, I do believe that's allowed. WIC, on the other hand, along with the benefits being loaded onto their cards each month, it's a specific list of groceries that they are allowed to buy. And those list of groceries are driven by who is it that is being benefited by this food. So if it's a baby, like a newborn, the WIC benefits are going to include formula. If it's a 1 or 2 or 3-year-old, then the WIC benefits are not going to include formula. They'll include cereal and milk and those kinds of things. So the benefits change over time. So WIC and SNAP, they do require training inside your store, train your cashiers on how to handle both situations, the technology through the POS, and the products that they're allowed to buy or not. With SNAP, for example, the only limitation is that the food must be cold, which sounds really arbitrary when you very first hear it. You cannot buy hot food with a SNAP card, but this legislation actually keeps those SNAP benefits going towards grocery stores instead of any hot food provider, be it fast food places, other restaurants, food trucks, on and on and on. SNAP benefits have to be spent at a grocery store on cold food. This can also be one of your best competitive advantages, and I don't want to bum anybody out, but often we have heard at our store how nice it is for these people to shop with us, the people who are using these benefits to pay for their food, or at least in part pay for their food, that it is such a breath of fresh air to be able to come and shop at our store because we're nice to them. Because we don't rush them through the register and be rude and judge them for using these benefits to help pay for their food. So when you think about what are the competitive advantages that my store offers, I would really encourage you to keep that anecdote in mind and get creative and think outside the box as far as how is your store different from your competitors. And last but not least, SNAP is available as soon as you have your food safety certificate from the state. You're then allowed to apply to receive payment in SNAP benefits. And as soon as you're on the SNAP program and receiving and able to receive those payments, then you're eligible to apply for WIC. Food trucks. This is a great advertiser, in my opinion. One, it allows you to most likely be able to sell the product to the food truck where they're going to be parked out there offering what they're offering. So for example, we had a guy who came regularly who had a smoker, and he was offering smoked ribs and jalapeno poppers and on and on and on. And he bought the ribs from us, the jalapenos, the bacon, the cream cheese, like all of it. He bought all the parts there. We gave him a discount. It was a little bit above cost, but not retail. And then he had his food truck out in the parking lot. And if people asked, or he's just telling them like, hey, this meat, this food all came from this store. So again, great advertiser, plus it's likely to draw people into your parking lot that maybe haven't been there before, who they didn't want to come to the store for whatever reason. We don't need to go down that road, but maybe they did come into the parking lot then because of the food truck that was there. So it's just something new and different that can create a draw to your store. The advertising bench, this is an excellent idea as far as somebody approached us a couple years after we had opened to set this up for us, but I think any store could set it up for themselves, which we've later transitioned to doing it this way. So you have a standard bench. I would recommend at least 6 feet, if not 8 to 10. One, I think it's really great to have a bench outside of your store and inside your store somewhere where especially elderly or really anybody at all who needs to can take a seat. That can be a lifesaver sometimes. That way you don't have someone on the floor. So having some seating around is a great practice anyway. And this advertising bench, basically imagine the back of the bench is space for blocks of advertising. So if you have 6 feet on there, let's say maybe you have room for 8 squares that are, good sized. For other local businesses who would like to pay a fee to be one of those boxes on the back of the bench. And maybe that is advertising space that lasts for 1 year, and every year you go back out, and maybe that's how you set your pricing. Maybe you sell it at a slightly higher price and say that's advertising for 3 years, and we're not going to redo it for 3 years, and then maybe it's a little bit less burden on you too. Highly recommend that way, but that's just my 2 cents. I would also see if there's a local printer who wants to work with you as far as creating the actual, either you're going to use like decals, like stickers, or maybe even a whole board that is just one printed piece that you're able to screw onto the back of the bench. Whichever way you go, a local printer who can help you find the best option as far as most cost effective for how long the bench is expected to sit there. And also, maybe they would be willing to trade with you as far as if you give them a space on the bench, maybe they do the printing for free and it's a fair trade. Also be thinking about your building wall space. So for example, we had a space up at the top of our store. The ceilings are pretty high, so this is kind of above eye level and just an open space. And there at one point basically had the idea to make a big sign that says, "Thank you for shopping local." That's something that we say all the time, and we branded it with our colors and our logo, and it's big. So just a simple banner that can hang up there that gives them something to see, that again is communicating with the customers that are coming in there to see it. More than that though, I would say the outside of the building, as much as you have room for, you have artistic connections to help you with this, the outside of the building is an excellent advertising space as far as installing a mural or even just words on the outside of your building. We've had people walk into our store and go, "I didn't know you had all this in here." So again, communicating with people on the outside what's going on the inside, and enticing them, encouraging them to come inside and check it out. I would definitely recommend a community board. Ours is usually fuller than it has room for, and that's even when we take the stuff down that's past date. All kinds of things. Constantly you have people coming in that want to hang up their flyer or their posting or whatever it is. And it's just so easy to, when they come in and they're like, can I hang this up, please? There's a board right over there. Everyone can hang up their stuff. You don't police it, whatever, just open opportunity for everyone to post the things to the community that they want to post. Obviously, you may police that if ever you feel like there's something on there that doesn't suit the brand of your store. You may be inclined to take something down or to not allow someone to hang that up. But again, that is totally under your discretion for your business. And last but not least, seasonal decor. Again, this is very effective at communicating to people that these special events are going on. So like I've said in other modules, the most on the ball shoppers will be shopping for Thanksgiving dinner basically on November 1st. So right around then is where you put up your fall decor, or maybe you have fall decor that covers, September, October, November. Whatever your schedule is, keeping those things current and giving people something new and fresh to look at, all of that just goes to making your space more engaging and enjoyable to be in, which you would think theoretically, kind of like the social media algorithms, that the more enjoyable the environment is to be in, that the longer they'll spend in your store. Again, theoretically, the more their basket size may increase the longer they spend in the store. These are just a few ideas as far as store signage, so the regular signs that you'll have. The main one, I think, is a big, nice sign that has your brand or that has your logo, that's lit, that can be seen when it's dark, or if it's winter and it gets dark at 5 p.m., that they can see it. They can see that that's lit up and you're open for business. That open sign though, that's a completely separate sign. I would also recommend that you have a lit open sign just as an eye catcher to help pull people in if they're able to see that that is open and on. You may or may not be able to have a road sign, as far as it depends on what road you're on, what the rules are for having a road sign. For example, if you're on a city street and that's all it is, you may be able to very easily put a sign right out by the road. If you're on a US highway, for instance, that is not as clear cut. So it just depends. Check into it wherever you are, depending on what road you're next to, as far as if you're allowed to have a road sign or not. And we already talked about the Marquee Board. Again, highly recommend. You can usually pick these up either from a restaurant equipment site or old grocery equipment site for relatively cheap. You can also get a set of letters relatively cheap. Usually it comes with one. Maybe you want another one just so you have enough to say whatever you need to say. So end caps, shippers, and cross merchandising. Basically, the idea here is that we're wanting to maximize the sales per square foot of our store. So when we think about how many square feet is our sales floor compared to what is our weekly revenue, you can easily divide the square footage into the weekly revenue and find how many dollars in sales are you earning per square foot of your store. And it's gonna be a little bit challenging to add new shelving. You usually have as much shelving as you have space for, but a shipper is a little stand of a set of product, usually more than a case, 4 to 6 cases of product. And so it costs more. You're buying 4 to 6 cases of product, but it comes with a nice little cardboard stand that you put together, and you can stick that on the end of the aisle or up at the register or back by the meat department or wherever you think it would go best as far as cross merchandising or selling, getting people to see it and want it. This is a great way to highlight new items that you bring into the store, or a great way to bring in new items if you're sure, or if you're relatively confident that it's going to sell well. So for example, if you see like at a grocery show, there's these new salsas that you want to bring in. And so you have the choice. Do you want to order these couple individual cases, or you can get an even better price and order this shipper, and it's 4 cases at that point, but they're slightly lower unit costs. And so at that point, you have the shipper of the new product. You put it out at the end of the aisle next to the salsa section. And when the shipper is sold down to where you only have a few jars left of each kind, you take those, integrate them into your salsa section, and do away with the shipper. So it's a great way to introduce a new item, call it to attention, and then when it's time, move it on into the regular set. So end caps are another great way to communicate seasonal changes to your customers. So like leading up to Thanksgiving, maybe you have an end cap that is all the Thanksgiving stuff. There's like pie crust mixes and stuffing mix and all of the different fixings for their Thanksgiving meal. Maybe then at Christmas it changes to more baking stuff, or maybe you have one of both, because the whole season is kind of the meal and the baking that goes along with that season. So again, that's just one example. Year round there's going to be different things. Like on the Super Bowl, for example, maybe you make one that's all the little dips and Velveeta and Rotel and little snacks and all kinds of things for the Super Bowl party. And along with the end caps, you can also kind of mix your seasonal decor into that, as far as maybe the top shelf, or even just kind of worked into the end cap are a football on the Super Bowl thing, or a football helmet, or some pom-poms, or all of these different kinds of ideas to bring it to life in an even more engaging way. You're trying to catch the customer's attention long enough to consider, do I want to buy this product? And again, the more fun it looks, as far as like, oh, there's pom-poms and there's this and there's that and there's this. They're looking at it, they're taking it in, and now they're like, oh, I didn't see that, I need this one. And so decorating the end caps can make them even more impactful. And then I also just wanted to give you a few ideas as far as cross merchandising. These are 3, but the list is literally infinite. And again, you're trying to maximize sales per square foot. So let's say the customer wants strawberry shortcake, and they come into the store knowing, I want strawberry shortcake. So they go to the produce section and they get their strawberries. They go to the dairy section and they get their whipped cream. And now they're looking and looking and looking, and they cannot find any little shortcakes, any pound cakes. They just can't find anything like that that would serve to make their strawberry shortcake. And so now they go look for somebody to ask, and it's your busy time of day. They can't find somebody to ask. Everybody's helping customers. There's lines everywhere, which again, best case scenario. And now they can't find what they needed, and they put it all back and they go to somewhere else and get all the things that they needed. So that's worst case scenario, is that they can't find what they need, and they don't buy at least that piece, maybe not any of it. So in this case, it's a good idea, good practice to carve out right next to your strawberries your shortcake. So it's right side by side, and maybe right next to that you even carve out another space and you cross stock the cans of whipped cream. Cross stock meaning that you keep them in your dairy section where they always are, and over the summertime when strawberry shortcake becomes really popular, for example, maybe you do install a couple facings of the cans of whipped cream right there next to the strawberries. So now strawberry shortcake is a one-stop shop. Boom, boom, boom. They got their stuff. They're at the checkout. They're ready to rock and roll with their strawberry shortcake. A couple other examples. We brought in squeezed ginger by request from a customer, and it is technically shelf stable. So we had the choice, where do you want to put it? Do you want to put it in the produce section, or do you want to put it in the international food section? We decided to print 2 price tags and put it in both sections. So we have it in produce, where you would expect to find fresh ginger, which we don't carry because you can't sell it fast enough and where we are. But it's also with the international food, which has all of the other ingredients. If you're going to be buying ginger, chances are you're making some kind of international cuisine, and here's the section that has all of those ingredients. So no matter which place you think you're going to find it, you're going to find it. So that's the idea of merchandising in general, and cross-merchandising is just thinking a little bit more creatively about where is the customer going to expect to find this product, and how can I locate it at that location so that they do for sure find it, because again, that's going to drive up the likelihood that they actually buy it. Next, we'll cover the category of loyalty. So this, I find it very helpful to think of loyalty as something that the community reflects to you. They do not give it to you. So they are reflecting the loyalty that you are giving them. That is to say, for me, I find it helpful as far as it protects your sanity to only try to control the half of loyalty that you can control, which is to say, again, you can deliver on your promises. You can do good things for your community. You can control how much loyalty you're giving to them. And they will absolutely reflect it back to you. But it's like the chicken and the egg, which one came first? And as the store owner / operator, very helpful to focus on your part that you can contribute to right now. There are lots of different ways that you can construct your loyalty program. So whether you're going to integrate it into your POS, and maybe you have a card and all kinds of things that you do with it, or maybe you just have a punch card and a special shaped hole punch that says, when you buy 10 gallons of milk, you get one free. And so you could punch on their card, and then at the end exchange with them. They get a gallon of milk and you get their punch card. So, I mean, there's lots of different ways that you can offer these rewards, ranging from very simple to technically advanced, that you're going to need to work with your POS, maybe even your warehouse, to set up some of these loyalty programs. If you are dealing in your POS though, that is where you can start keeping track of a customer's repeat purchases, and maybe that builds towards points or some other kind of discount as a reward for how many repeat purchases they've made at your store. And last but not least, there may be an option to partner with a local gas station to do gas rewards for your store. So it can work either only one direction, or it can be vice versa, that basically they earn points by spending money at your store that goes towards getting small discounts off of their gas price when they go over to the gas station. So that is something that it's up to you and any local gas stations that may want to partner with you, but may be a competitive advantage for both of you, especially if you're both locally operated and owned, as compared with some of the more corporate competitors that you may have in your area that likely have their own gas program. Loyalty data, there's probably an endless number of fields that you can choose to collect on the people who enroll in your loyalty program. Keep in mind, the more simple it is to enroll, aka the less you want to know about them, the more likely they are to sign up. So information comes with a reduced enrollment rate, I would say. You could probably correlate that. Especially if you have a POS module, chances are there are lots of reports and things that you can pull to see who are our best customers, and maybe you send them a special email with a thank you coupon in it where maybe they get $20 off $100 or something like that. As a reward for being one of our best customers. You know, that's a great way to communicate with those people who are super loyal to your store already, and just repay them for that loyalty. And then also it's easier to look at if there is somebody who normally shops and they drop off, reaching out and saying, I hope you're okay, you know, like first and foremost, and then maybe here's a coupon for the next time you do come see us, or did you know that we recently got these couple new items or this new service or whatever. So you can use that data to craft different specific email blasts to communicate to different subsets of your customer base. Engagement, building goodwill. These are just ideas. Again, depending on your community and your situation, there may be lots of other options available to you, but I would say some good ones to start with are the Chamber of Commerce and the County Health Department. those people should probably be your friends. And you should at least know them on a first name basis, because they will be not necessarily stakeholders per se in determining the outcome of your business, but great options as far as having allies in the community that you're on the same page with. So the county health department is very easy to be friends with as long as you're abiding by all the rules and codes that you need to. So that's pretty straightforward. You probably are doing that anyway. And the Chamber of Commerce, whether you're volunteering to serve on the board itself, which is obviously a much bigger commitment, or even if you're just attending their monthly meetings where it's usually some type of networking opportunity and speaker and lunch or however it's done in your area, that's another good way to get involved, not just with the people who run the chamber, because they have access to a mailing list of all the local businesses where they can send out things on your behalf. Like, hey, your store has an event coming up next week. Maybe the chamber can email that out for you. Or put it on their social media, or all kinds of things. Their goal is to support local businesses. So making friends with them, there's a lot that they will do for you because that's also their mission. So partnering and allying with anybody in your local community that you can think of, that it's a win-win for you to be there and be friends with them. When possible, I would also look for opportunities to volunteer in your community. So that could look like something that is a group that you join where year-round you're doing things with that group. It could also be something where, like, there was one time I saw on like the local community page on Facebook where the Booster Club is asking for volunteers because they don't have enough people to like work the hot dog dinner that night at the football game or something. It's like a 2-hour thing. They need people to serve the hot dogs. And I was like, I can do that. I can serve the hot dogs. So I went and served the Booster Club hot dogs, even though I'm not part of the Booster Club. I normally don't go to the football games, but I got to FaceTime not only with the few people from the Booster Club who were there, they were very appreciative for my help, but also with the community, that it's helpful for them to see you outside of the store, engaging with other things, engaging, especially when you go there, when you go to the football game to serve the hot dog dinner, as an example, you're FaceTiming with people who find the football game very important. And the fact that you're there is suddenly so cool. So it is just a win-win-win opportunity that if you have the time, obviously that's 2 hours that, like, yeah, you're volunteering that time outside of work and all of that. But as far as raising your brand awareness, I've even slapped on an apron with my brand on it, and then I go volunteer. They know right who I am, right where I came from, and I am not opposed to having conversations about the store while I'm there volunteering. It's okay that it's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win situation. Community donations, let's talk about that for a minute, because chances are, as you get open, during the course of the year, there may be more donation requests than you feel like you can afford to support. So keeping that in mind from early on, that there are lots of people who will walk into your store off the street and want a donation from your business. And there is some criteria that you could probably use that I'll share how we think through those donation requests, and then however you guys want to do it based on what budget do you have for making community donations, what causes are personally important to your store, and then it's a little bit play it by ear and see what they want. Do they want cash? Do they want product? How much are they asking for? Sometimes they'll come in and want a donation, and if you ask, like, what could you really use for your event? They're like, 4 or 5 cases of water would be awesome. Okay, well, that's $10 for me. So yeah, you can have 5 cases of water, that's fine. And okay, great. So that's an easy win. That's all they wanted. Great, here's $10 worth, take it, be done. Other times, they specifically want cash. At that point, I simply explain, we don't really donate cash. We donate food or products from inside the store that you are more than willing to take and do fundraisers with to generate cash. put on a hot dog dinner at the football game that's free will donation, and let people drop money in your bucket, and we'll give you the hot dogs and the buns and all of that. That's generally how I approach community donations, is product only. It's a very rare instance where we will write a check and hand over cash. And that's just a personal decision for our business. Choosing to allow other people's fundraisers to happen on your store's property is another type of request that you'll likely receive, where the grocery store is typically, one, it's high traffic in and out, and two, it's usually a pretty centralized location. And kind of going back to go where the people are, and that's where you set up your table. That's why people want to come to the grocery store and set up their table. So whether they want to sell Girl Scout cookies or have a car wash in your parking lot or like whatever, it's up to you. Do you want them to be allowed to do that? And again, I think you kind of got to play it by ear as far as what is it that they want to do and what type of fundraiser or what type of information are they peddling? Are they trying to put in front of your customers? And then decide on behalf of your customers, if they want to come on Saturday over the lunch hour or whatever, well, that's our rush time on Saturday. So that means every single customer that's coming through my store at that time will encounter these people with this fundraiser going on. And is that something that I want? And maybe sometimes the answer is yes, and maybe sometimes the answer is no, and you get to decide for your business, for your customers, what's most appropriate. So we've already touched on a little bit emphasizing the seasons as they come and go, so emphasizing special occasions like holidays, but you can also create your own special occasion, and actually I would highly recommend this. So the template that we have here is an events calendar, and this is just an example of what it might look like to work on drawing out special highlights and special events and special promotions, and to really have a big picture view of month to month, what is it that you are wanting to offer to your customers to stay new and exciting and constantly be giving them something to engage them and get them to come back over and over. And every time you have a special occasion, let's say you're going to have a fall parking lot party where you're going to have pumpkins outside for the kids to paint and a face painter, and you're going to grill a bunch of food, and you're having all these sales, and that's your fall parking lot party. So at that special occasion, a couple of different things. One, in the advertising of it, you're likely to catch the eye of a new customer, at least one, if not a bunch. Two, as your parking lot is full of people attending your special event, you're hoping to maximize the number of people that are there at one time, because nothing gets people's attention like a full parking lot. They look over and they're like, suddenly think they're missing out on something. I better go see what's up over there. What are they doing over there? Why is everybody over there? I want to go. What's up? Like FOMO, it's a real thing. So if you can fill up your parking lot, chances are you'll get people coming in who didn't plan to come before, just because they see that a lot of other people are there. The other event that I wanted to share is that for a long time, we did a weekly smoke or grill night. So like on Wednesdays, it was smoke night. And that was super beneficial for inside the store, because our meat department naturally generates a little bit of waste all the time. You want to keep things full and looking nice, and when it doesn't look nice anymore, you pull it. And it's still fine, but most customers want the fresh, pink, red, nice meat. They don't want the 3-day-old brown steak, even though that's definitely the better one. So you pull it and you cook it on smoke night. Once a week, you cook the things that need to come out of the meat department. They're totally fine, but they're no longer presentable to sell. And that is such an amazing opportunity for using that waste in a way that you're cooking it all at once, so it's streamlining the effort to transfer your raw product into ready-to-eat product, and then through consistency and advertising, putting it on your Marquee Board, running it through all your social media, and just the regularity of people learning that Wednesday night is smoke night at the store. So they get in the habit of Wednesday night is smoke night, and that's a great way to convert older inventory before it's trash into something that you can still liquidate and sell. For an extra layer of practical details, we spent about $1,000 to invest into, it's a combo smoker / grill. And we wanted that mostly because at the time we had an employee who was really into smoking in his own personal spare time. And he was totally excited and willing to do smoke night if we had the smoker and the grill. So, we found one and bought it and parked it next to the store and have used it and generated thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in sales off of that smoker. It has more than paid for itself many times over. So again, an investment up front, but in the long term, totally worth it, I think, especially if you can get a good deal on something. Ours is a homemade model. Somebody made it for himself and put it on a little trailer, and we bought it from him, and it works perfectly. So you don't have to go with something like big and fancy and commercial. I mean, it can be anything. So see what's in your area. You might find something that is a perfect fit. So this next one is to create contests with prizes, and this might be my penchant for having fun, but I really love a good contest. I love the advertising side of it where you get people excited about it, and the actual working with the teams or whoever's going to be in the contest. Giving away prizes is always fun. There's winners. It's a great time. So a couple examples. One is coloring contests. These are so easy to do. You find a coloring page, which you can Google like football coloring page and find yourself something. Print off however many copies you need, take them to the local schools and offer that all the first graders or whatever can fill this out and color it. And if they bring it back to the store, we'll hang it up in the store and they can have a free fruit cup. So it can be something simple like that. You can drive attention towards your fruit cups. Like we have cut fruit in our grab and go where we again are using fruit that needs to come out of the produce section and cutting it up and repackaging it as ready to eat, washed, cut fruit. And so that's what they get when they turn in the coloring page. And what that achieves is that, 6-year-olds aren't going to drive themselves to the store. Their parent is going to bring them, someone's going to bring them, and now you have the child and the parent seeing the fruit cup. That's really the goal of all of the whole thing. Obviously, the fun of the kid getting to fill out the coloring page is a big piece, but the awareness building of the fruit cups and the grab and go section in general. You're hoping to catch people who wouldn't normally come into your store. The kid's excited about their coloring page. They go home, they tell their parent, we need to go to the store. We need to turn this in. The other example of a contest, we have done a Christmas tree decorating contest for a few years now. And that is where we've actually done it a different way each time. But the gist of it is we have local organizations put up Christmas trees, and it's up to them to provide their own tree. They provide all their decorations. They plan how do they want to decorate it, what does it look like, and who is being benefited by their prize money, their store credit that they're going to win at the end of this contest. So like the first year, for example, we had local retail shops do these trees. So they were the businesses that were selling Christmas decor already. So it was a really awesome opportunity for them to advertise the decor that was available in their store. We heard over and over again how the specific pieces that they put on their tree were selling out at the store because people saw them and wanted to go buy them. So, and even after she was sold out, people kept coming and saying, I want that thing that I saw on the tree at the store. So that was great for the store. And then because they're for-profit business, we did it where they got to pick a local nonprofit to benefit from the food money that we were giving away. And the way that we did the voting then is the way that the store wins. So, always in these contests, there's a win, 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 win. Everybody gets to win. That's the best way to do a contest, in my opinion. So the way the store wins is that in the voting, how you vote for your favorite tree is to drop your receipt from the store into the box for the tree that you want to vote for. And how many votes you're giving that tree is how many dollars did you buy on your receipt. So if you have a receipt for $10, then that's 10 votes for your favorite tree. If you have a receipt for $1,000, that's 1,000 votes for your favorite tree. So we've had people, this second year, we did it with the 3 schools in the county. There are 3 different schools when you get to the north, the south, and the center. And so each school had their own tree, and the boxes there are for each school. And we had people coming into the store who had never stepped foot in the store, buying $100 baskets of products to be able to put that receipt in the box for the school that they wanted to win the contest. Contests, man, they work, I'm telling you. Next under engagement is Sidecar Services. So this is something that will likely unfold as you get going, just very naturally, but some ideas of what's unfolded for our store. First is we had a local propane vendor company. They mostly operated just off the truck with their propane. So they had very limited office space. So it didn't really make sense for them to put a cage of smaller propane bottles, like for gas grills, at their office space for people to have to come there separate. They wanted to put the gas or the propane cage somewhere where people already were. See how this is a recurring theme? They wanted to put it at the grocery store. And with that, we are the ones who are technically selling it to the customers. We either exchange their bottle, meaning we take their old bottle and we give them a new one, and that's $15, or we're selling them a brand new bottle of propane, meaning they don't bring us anything and we just give them the whole bottle, and that's $55, I believe. So that is something that we're able to do, which boosts what this propane company is able to do. It raises their weekly sales, and in the process we get a 10% cut of all of the sales that move through that propane cage. So the other example that we have that's just like this is dry cleaning. So inside the city where we operate, there is no dry cleaners, and the closest option is about 30 minutes away. Well, there is a company in that city that offers this dry cleaning route. They go about 2 hours north, and they have all of these little stops along the way where they have just basically a clothes rack, like a 3 or 4 foot clothes rack, or you could have more if you needed it, and a bucket on the bottom and some bags where people put their dirty stuff in the bags and they put it on the bottom. Twice a week they come and they take the dirty stuff in the bags and they bring back the clean stuff and hang it on the thing, and there's a little receipt that tells you what needs to be charged. And so when the person comes to pick up their dry cleaning, we can ring it up and we collect the full amount, and then we send 90% of that money to the dry cleaning company and we get to keep 10%. Again, going back to maximizing your sales per square foot, this is a huge way to get that number to go up, because when you think about it, the clothes rack takes up maybe 10 square feet, and you could do hundreds, if not thousands of dollars off that rack in business. Overall business, granted, you're only keeping the 10%, but there is a lot of volume that can move through something like that. Same with the propane cage, especially if it's a nice weekend, especially if it's early in summer or it's holidays weekend or it's late into fall and then you get a really nice weekend, you could empty that whole cage in one weekend. And so again, just having that there, and that's so effortless from your business standpoint. As far as they come, they do all the work. All you got to do is have a cashier who can type it into the thing and collect the money. So this last piece under engagement is a social media post that I did a couple years ago, and I draw this out as an example under engagement because this was by far the most successful post we've ever done on our social media. And so I wanted to share what that was because it's been a one-off. I've never been able to replicate it, but I did want to plant the seed as far as giving you ideas of what kinds of things you can put on your social media. So this story begins with me working until close. I am not a night person at all. And so I'm there at 8 o'clock and it's maybe 2 till, and I'm getting ready to lock the door and turn off the lights. And a trucker walks through the door and and he needs to borrow my forklift because one of the bags of peat moss that he's hauling fell off of his truck, and these bags of peat moss weigh 2,000 pounds. So he needs my forklift to be able to put it back on the truck. Otherwise, he's going to have to wait until tomorrow for somebody to come bring him a forklift, basically. And by that point, he will have missed his deadline, and his pay as the trucker will be greatly reduced as far as what he'll be paid to deliver this load late. And so, do I want to loan him my forklift? And at that point, it was it all happened very quickly, but there were so many factors that came to my mind as far as like, what if he breaks it? What if he hurts himself? What if, like, basically, what are all the liabilities? What are all the risks that could happen with me loaning out this forklift? And in the end, I did, because he's a human being and he's standing in front of me and he needs this and I have it to give. And generosity means giving what you have, even when that's not a lot. If it's exactly what the other person needs, you do it. You help another human being. That's how I operate anyway. And so I did it, and in the end, he was so grateful. He was such a warm, generous-hearted individual himself, and he was so appreciative, like tears in his eyes, so appreciative that I would go and let him borrow our forklift and trust him to take care of it and himself, and to not ruin this for me. Like, don't make me regret loaning you this forklift. And so in the end, it was such a nice experience to be able to do something like truly meaningful in that moment for another human being. And I wrote the story. So if you check out the images, there's a picture of the post, there's a picture of him reloading the peat moss onto his truck and telling the story of what happened and how, if we hadn't, when we got started, our building was a vacant building that used to be a grocery store. So if we hadn't bought this building and remodeled it and turned it into a grocery store, and now we're there for the moment when he has this accident, plus we're a type of business that even has a forklift, like, just to be able to be there to support another human in their moment of need was honestly a privilege. And I wanted to share, like, look how cool, like, here we are with a grocery store, and it's so much cooler than just a grocery store. So I told that story out of like, this is so cool. And it was by far, it just like blew up. So many people shared it, so many people liked it, so many people wrote on it, like commented on it about they're so grateful that we did that and that we're just there in general. So again, it's just a nice way to communicate who are you in your community and what is your promise? What's your heart? What's your intention? And how are you meeting that? How are you delivering on that? And our intention is to be of service in whatever way we can be. And this story was like, this is so far outside the box of any service we ever intended to provide, and look at how happy of an ending we were able to achieve. And last but not least, we will talk about turning your store into a destination. A very easy thing to do, and this would be for any of the service areas that you have in your store, is to give free samples. So whether that's like just writing on the front of your deli meats and cheeses case or your hot food case, free samples available upon request, and then even the person serving it knows to offer. Like, if you have somebody standing there who's really eyeballing your cheeses and you can tell they're doing mental math trying to figure out like which cheese they should buy, they should probably just have some samples. They should probably just have the actual cheese to taste and decide maybe they need all three of them. So it never hurts to give people a sample of something that, they may also not want to try it because maybe I won't like it and then I'll have spent the money and I'll have it and blah, blah, blah. Like, just, you can see on their face when they're doing the mental math of like, should I buy that or not? Give them a sample. If at all possible, give them a sample, because most of the time they're going to say, yeah, give me a half a pound of that. And it pays off. Another easy option is local products. So I say easy because it's there, it's accessible, it just takes time to set up those relationships and bring in those local options. And again, it's a competitive advantage as far as most corporate stores have corporate sets. So that means if there's, somebody who makes sauerkraut in your area and whatever they sell it in your area, that probably the corporate store is not going to allow them to sell their local sauerkraut in their store. So the only places where they're going to be able to sell it is in local stores like yours. So the more of those kinds of products you can bring into the store, and then put on your marquee board local products available inside, or put through your social media, hey, we got another new local product just out of 10 minutes away from here, check out this new sauerkraut or barbecue sauce or whatever it is. The only thing I'll say about bringing in local products is to be aware through your state's food safety requirements which local products require their own food safety certificate in order to be safely produced, and which are types of food that may not need to be certified and inspected. So for example, in the state of Kansas, eggs have their own certificate, their own license to be able to sell the eggs that you're producing. So if you have someone in your area who is having local eggs that they want to sell through your store, you would say, can I see your egg license? And typically that information will also be on the eggs that they are selling, like their label will have their food license number on it. If it doesn't, then ask to see it. And if they can't produce it, if they don't have that yet, you can point them back towards the state website to get the proper certification, and then you can sell the eggs inside your store. Fruits and vegetables, you don't need a certificate like that. So like if somebody brings tomatoes into your store, you can sell them. You don't have to have a certificate. The only thing I would be cautious on is if somebody claims that they're organic and wants you to buy them as organic and wants you to sell them as organic, that has a certificate, a very intense certificate, a lot of hoops, a lot of years that have to be jumped through. So if you have a local producer saying that they have organic produce, you would need to see their certificate that says that they are actually producing organic produce before you're able to buy and sell it like that. If they back down and they're like, okay, fine, they're just tomatoes, then you can buy and sell them, no problem. Just an idea to put out through your social media and ask like, hey, are there any products that are being made here locally that you think would be a good fit to sell in our store? And get your people to tell you like, hey, yeah, I'm buying this from so-and-so, and I'm getting this from so-and-so, and I'm getting this from so-and-so, and then see if you can bring all of that into your store. Kind of like on Schitt's Creek, where David opens the Rose Apothecary, and it's just a curated selection of locally produced products. Your store can be that. The only thing it costs you is your time to establish those relationships. So next, the homemade items that you're able to sell. So these are just a few of our homemade items that we have in my store. So you can get some ideas of what that might be. And it really does depend, how full service is your meat department, how much of a kitchen do you have to put together ready to eat food. It depends on what food safety certificate you're working under to begin with. But even if you're only certified for raw food products, you could still make, for example, the jalapeno poppers or the bacon wrapped asparagus, which are both made and sold raw, where the customer would cook it at home. Some of these other options like the grandma's coleslaw or the puppy chow, the poke cakes, all of those are ready to eat. So you would only be able to make something like that if you had an actual kitchen, a deli that was certified by the state to be able to create ready to eat food products. Also, something that's going to set you apart is your ability to take on custom orders. So whether that is decorated cakes that you're letting people order, or maybe they want to order a bundle of meat for a Christmas present for their parent, or maybe you're even offering hot food or catering where they can order 50 pounds of fried chicken and you send it with them for their event. Again, all of that just helps build that relationship with the customer and are things that likely your local corporate competitor is not able to provide that level of customization. So taking advantage of we're a smaller store, so we're flexible, and here's what we can do with that flexibility is we can handle custom orders. The other piece of that is if, let's say it's the holidays and someone wants to buy a couple cases of spaghetti sauce to donate to the local food pantry and wants to know if they buy these cases, can you give them a case price? Absolutely. All you have to do is order it, receive it, and hand the case to them. You don't have to unpack the case or put it on the shelf or pull the old ones off and put the new ones behind and put the old ones back on. Like, that labor is why the groceries have the margin to begin with, is because we have to put it away. So if they're willing to take the whole case, you can easily shave a decent discount off, like even 10%, 15%, because they're willing to buy a whole case. Or maybe it's a whole event, like your local livestock association is having a steak dinner where they want to get all of their potatoes, butter, sour cream, rolls, on and on and on, all the things for the whole dinner. They want the plates, the silverware, the charcoal, the gas, the lighter fluid, all of that. So you can put together a quote for them with case prices, and you can do however deep of a discount you want, based on the fact that they're going to order this whole entire list of groceries, probably over $1,000, couple $1,000. So again, maybe you can afford a 15% discount, an even nicer one, again, to thank that customer for choosing to do that business with your store and not going to the big box store, maybe down the street, down the road a bit, to shop for those goods. So trying to be price competitive where you can be, by doing case prices where it makes sense. As far as making your store a destination, one of the things that we have going for us is that we have a couple things about our store that make us old-fashioned, which we knew going into it would be something of a draw, or that at least people there would enjoy that aspect of our store, the way we've designed it. But there are people who come from far away because they like the old-fashioned meat counter. We have people who specifically request the paper sacks. They love that we have that option. So there is almost like a nostalgia component where you're almost walking back in time somewhat to come in and experience those old-fashioned aspects, which again creates a really good feeling for most people in their being. So they're now associating that good feeling with your store, with your brand, with your promise, with what you're delivering in that experience. This internal grocery audit is a resource that I have found, and I don't think I've ever used it, but I've definitely read through it and pulled pieces out of it. But the idea is that you would have someone either who isn't involved in the operation or a manager who's able to put on like a customer hat, or a first-time customer hat even is better. And then go through the store and look at it with as fresh eyes as you can. So in that end, it really is helpful if you can get somebody who doesn't work for the store, who's not involved in operations. They'll just have an easier time being impartial. And last but not least, don't underestimate how having a clean, bright, and friendly store can create a destination all by itself. Having regular sanitation practices so that your store smells clean, having the cashier or whoever's at the front of the store warmly welcome every single person who comes in so that they feel received into the environment. And on a regular basis, once or twice a year is usually fine depending on your situation, but changing out any light bulbs on your store floor, your sales floor, that have burned out, because keeping it as bright in the space as possible, it elevates the mood somewhat. It makes it a friendlier, brighter place to be, again, making it more enjoyable to be there, and hopefully extending the person's visit and incentivizing a repeat visit. This is also where something like facing, which is just pulling the product from the back of the shelf to the front, so that as you look down the aisle, the whole entire front of the shelf is full. That's a beautiful aisle right there. It's a really hard to look at aisle when you look down the aisle and there's gaps everywhere because all the products at the back of the shelf, because the ones at the front have been purchased. So again, it's like best case scenario that your shelves are gonna need faced. That means you sold some product. The more you sold, the more often you're gonna need to face. So at least like twice a week or once a week, 3 or 4 times a week, it really depends on how much are you selling, how often are you ordering. it also makes life really easy on the person who's ordering, especially like on those bottom shelves, for example. If they haven't been faced and all the products at the back, the person has to get down there and look and see, like, is there product back in there that I just can't see? And if so, I don't want to order that. Or if it's completely empty back in there, then yes, I do need to order it. And when you have to order for 2 hours through multiple aisles, your legs are on fire after you've had to bend down there. So having the shelves faced makes life so much easier on the person who's doing the order, and bigger bonus is that it's so much easier and nicer for your customers to look at. On that same note, the very last thing I'll talk about is this last template for shelving resets. So this is a user guide that takes you step by step through this process and how to do it. Really, when you would want to do it is when you're noticing gaps in your shelving. So how do you get gaps in your shelving? Couple of ways. One, the product was discontinued. So your warehouse no longer sells that product. So when you try to order it with the gun on the tag, it beeps back at you and says, item not found. So you're never going to be able to replace that product. So that tag right there is basically useless. And if the product's all gone, you can take that tag down. And now you have a gap on your shelf where that product used to be. The other way that you could get a gap on your shelf is if you order a product and it doesn't sell and it dates out. So you pull all of the dated out product, and maybe you even order a second case to try again. Maybe it's seasonal. Maybe they didn't find it the first time. I'll put it through Facebook this time and make sure they see it, or whatever. And so you order the second case, same story. It all dates out. You pull out the outdated product, and that time it's the second time. So now you pull the tag. You're not going to order a third case. And now you have a gap on your shelf. So regardless of how the gap got there, addressing the gap on some frequency is needed. So it may be, depending on the size of your staff, it may be outside your range of capacity to be able to address this like on a weekly basis. But I would say at least like twice a year, maybe even once every quarter, to go around and do a shelving reset where you're noticing any gaps and fixing them. So how do you fix them? Again, this comes from the guide, where you have options. So the easiest option by far is you have one gap, you go to your catalog, you find one new product, and you put it in the gap. It'll print the price tag, here's the new item, it scans at the register, good to go, gap solved. But that option costs money. And especially if you're only doing this twice a year, maybe you have 100 gaps. So 100 cases of new items. New items means you didn't sell the old ones, because when you sold the old ones, that's the money that's paying for the new case. But to buy a new item means you're just having to invest in that very first case of product. You have to buy it before you've sold anything. So if you have 100 gaps that you're trying to fill, that's a huge increase to the trucks that you're going to be ordering, aka the amount that you're going to have to pay for those groceries next week. So maybe putting new items one for one back into the shelf isn't the way you want to go. And the guide has some free options as well. So the first one, that's probably the easiest, that's free, is to fluff the shelf. So let's say you had a spaghetti sauce that had 2 facings, and on either side are 2 other spaghetti sauces that also have 2 facings. So now, to close the 2 facings in the middle, you expand this one to be 3 facings, and you expand this one to be 3 facings, adjust your little price tags there, and bam, now there's no gap on your shelf, and the 2 sauces that are left each have 3 facings instead of only 2. So free, you didn't have to spend any money, and the gap has been solved. The other way that is definitely more labor intensive, but depending on how many gaps you have, this may be a route that you want to go, is removing a shelf from the 3, 4, 5 foot section, whatever you have in your store, taking out one of the shelves and then rebalancing the other shelves that are still left so that they're evenly spaced. And let's say you had 5 or 6 gaps in this whole section. When you take out one of the shelves, you only have 4 shelves left, and now you have less space to reset and fluff and move things around so that the 4 shelves that are left look really full. Now the 3-foot section looks full, and again, you didn't buy anything, you just removed one of the shelves so that you didn't have so much shelf space to fill. At our store, I waited until like 2 years to go through and do any of this, and it was just novice, not knowing, not having the experience and not really having the capacity to do it. So by the time I got to it, there were a lot of gaps. And actually our warehouse had suggested that we deconstruct the last 3 feet of our gondolas, so like the whole row of shelving, to deconstruct those last 3 feet and take off 3 feet from each aisle. And that would be a way where when you take out 3 feet off each aisle, basically same concept, you're gonna squish the product together and it'll make it look more full. And I didn't like that option for a lot of different reasons, mainly that's so visible. It's so visible to your customers. They're like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And what do you say? Because the answer is, I have so many gaps, I can't afford to fill them. I don't have the money to fill them, so I'm having to get creative to make the shelf look full because I can't afford to pay to fill it back up. That's the root of that problem. And I didn't want to have that conversation, and so I let it be for a little while, and then it occurred to me, take the top shelf off of the entire store, and it basically accomplishes the same thing. So it actually takes even more. It took more like 6 feet out of each aisle. And it basically, instead of squishing it this way, it squished it this way. Our store caters to an older population, specifically older women. And so it really made a lot of sense that the top shelf was lower anyway. And so by taking off the existing top shelf, I was effectively lowering what the top shelf was, which was also really beneficial because the stuff that was on the top shelf usually didn't sell that well anyway, because for most people it was out of reach, or it was at least inconvenient to look up there, to reach up there if you weren't like physically too short to reach up there. So it wasn't a great spot to sell products anyway, and taking that off, it solved the problem of the shelf looking empty so that we could like squish it all back together, and it made the shelves themselves easier to shop in the process for the specific customers that we're dealing with. So again, win, 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 win. That brings us to the end of another module and the series overall. I thank you so much for taking this in. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions at all, my contact information is below. I do offer consulting services and am very open to hearing from you if needed. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day and take good care.